So, I don't think, and I would hope, that the developer, when you started to purchase these units, how long ago did you start to purchase the units?
First unit, and well over a year ago at this point, so
Oh,
a long time ago.
oh, okay. So a year ago. And I understand the concern from other members of West Avenue who are worried that they're going to be in a similar situation. But unfortunately, with the structural requirements and the certifications and inflation and the cost of living increasing, we could be in the center of this again. I want that shelter closed immediately. Every single time that I drive by it or I see it on West Avenue, and it's inhumane, not just for the people living there first and foremost, because if you see the bunk beds in these tiny, what I would say filthy rooms that are not being, I looked at the conditions of the hostel, and they're untenable indoor gathering place for them, and I'm happy that they're going to be moved into a place where they're going to have humane treatment. That is incredibly important, especially since the kitchen was closed and they were eating fast food. Some things that are weird, I think the whole situation is bizarre. Look, I'm prepared to vote for this today because I don't see, anything else. And it does break my heart when I hear from certain unit owners who say, well, we didn't know that something was contingent on something else, because we want everybody to be happy. And I apologize, to those unit owners. But once again, you have the government being interjected into a kind of private sale of something. That's bizarre. But here we are, and this is our 5th hearing where we've been here. And we also have to understand that, when people do come to Miami Beach and say that they want to invest, hundreds of millions of dollars in our city, how are we going to treat those people too, so that people continue to want to do business with Miami Beach? And I do think that from where we were at the beginning of this deal, where it was like over 400 feet, well over 400 feet, to where we are now, we've come a long way. So I'm prepared to vote in favor of this today.
Mr. Mayor, before we vote,
Commissioner Fernandez.
and I just want to just put a couple things for the record. We are working, I know there's a lot of community out there that might be watching this that's concerned about their building being the next buyout. And this city commission is taking action to pass groundbreaking legislation in the state of Florida. Absent our representatives taking any action in Tallahassee, in Miami Beach, we are taking the leadership locally to put protections in place for homeowners in condominiums to be protected from predatory buyout practices, intimidation tactics for sale. We're looking at doing LD, possibly we're studying the possibility of requiring LDR disclosures when a developer is going to a seller, so that that seller knows that that buyer is looking to increase the zoning of that property, because that could impact the valuation of that property, and also require closing dates, so that when people have experienced that their closings get delayed and delayed and delayed, so that that doesn't happen again. So we are taking action as a community to pass some of this groundbreaking legislation. And I'm just gonna end with one thing. At the last hearing, I asked you if you would consider lowering your height. Did you lower your height?
We did not.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone else wants to be heard, we have a motion and a second. Let's be clear what we're voting on, because we have a differential between what the developer or the private applicant has submitted and what the administration had proposed, but we are voting on what the private applicant has submitted. That is the item before us, correct?
Yes. The item before us is the application as presented by the private developer.
We have a motion and a second. Call the vote.
Commissioner Bott.
As I said, when we voted upon this the first time, this will probably be the hardest vote that I need to, the hardest decision that I need to make. And it has caused some consternation and a lot of internal strife on this. But with where we are now, I cannot do anything but vote for it.
Commissioner Dominguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Magazine.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Not present.
Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Suarez.
No.
Mayor Minor.
I'd like Commissioner Fernandez to be here for this vote. This is too important. And what's the, just to be clear, what's the vote that's needed? That's okay. What's the vote that's needed to pass?
6-7.
So far the vote is 4-1 in favor, Commissioner Fernandez.
I will say this. Last year, this city commission met and decided to silence the will of 20,000 voters in Miami-Dade County. I did not vote for that ordinance. And as a result of that, 100 homeless people were placed in West Avenue. And that's why we're facing this issue today. I did not vote for that. In fact, I raised the alarm of the consequences of what that vote would cause to our community. And because of that, all of you who care because of this have had to deal with the homeless in your community. I didn't create that problem, but I'm being asked to fix it because all of you feel unsafe. And it's why we've been leading on efforts to address the homeless issue, not only with law enforcement, but also through the investments on compassionate services. But in addition, that very bad vote, not only did we end up with 100 homeless people, but the taxpayers of the city of Miami Beach have been put into a deal where they're having to fork out up to $75 million for the next 13 years. I didn't create that problem. I voted against that problem. So we can either take an easy no vote and continue with the safety challenges that families and women have come to present to us, or we can take a yes vote and vote to solve the issue of the homelessness in West Avenue. When we sit here and we talk down to our police and we put our police in the spot and saying that our police are not addressing homelessness, this days created the homeless issue. This days is responsible as to why those 100 homeless people are here. And we can stand here all day and blame the police, but at the end of the day, it's our responsibility. Commissioner Magazine, I'm going to vote with you to solve the homeless issue on West Avenue because our community deserves better than the homeless shelter that has been created on West Avenue.
Yeah, I know a couple of my colleagues want to speak, and thank you for your passionate comments. I would just say that ultimately we are not the ones, this commission did not take those individuals from the Camille's house. You were there that night when they were not even told that they were going to be placed there. So ultimately, I hear what you're saying.
It was a result of our vote. We were sued, and the night that the judge ruled that question could be taken off the ballot after 20,000 people had voted, a few hours later, we ended up with buses of homeless individuals coming from the city of Miami into the neighborhoods of all the people who we serve, who are sitting here today asking us to solve this problem. So notwithstanding the fact that we're going to be vilified in public, that lies are going to be said about us in public, that we're going to be corrupt and sold to special interests. The special interests in here are you. the families of our community who are having to deal with people urinating in public, defecating in public, dealing with bike thefts, Joe Manning who's being attacked by homeless individuals. We saw a slideshow of probably over 24 crimes created by homeless individuals in our community. And that, in large part, is because this commission, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I disagree with you. This commission, without my vote, decided to silence the votes of 20,000 people on that homeless tax, and we ended up being retaliated against, and we had to be there that Friday night to help those individuals, and now we're really solving that problem. It's easy to vote no, and because it's easy to launch the attack, because this, at the end of the day, we're here to serve, and that's what we have to do to solve this problem. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, no, thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. I will. Oh, I never saw Commissioner, actually. No, I'll say, I know you're not referring to me, so, but I will say that 4 years ago when this issue first came up about putting this 1% tax on, I was a no vote as well. But the problem is also that we made a decision as a city, but putting that aside, the county is whole, the homeless trust is whole. Our commission ponied up the money. We actually have now shifted and we're taking it out of resort taxes from the convention center hotel instead of burdening our local small businesses and our residents. What that headline would have meant. You know, the reason why this commission has taken some of its bold action, and I'll say, I'm not talking about this case per se right now, but bold action in dealing with homelessness, with crime, with making sure our cases are prosecuted. We get vilified at every turn. The media, local electeds, we literally, and by the way, I wear it with a badge of honor. Because you know why? Because you are residents, no matter what gets thrown at us. I hear from you, thank you, Mayor. Thank you to our police. Thank you to our commission. We see through it. All of us see through it. But that's the point. And that was the point of this, because there are, you know, when people say Florida, we're a safe city, Miami Beach, yes, we have to deal with issues. But overall, I hear a lot. I hear a lot from people. They don't feel there's a safer city in America right now than Miami Beach. It doesn't mean we don't have to address issues. But some of the policies that exist here, make no mistake about it, they are the same policies that are in California and in New York that are creating the problems in California and New York. And we, as a body, as a commission, have taken bold action to make sure that that does not happen. And this vote today is actually part of it. But there are other issues as well that we need to make sure, and that's why our police do a great job. There's more we're asking them to do, and I'm sure they will come up with the challenge. But I am really proud of this commission overall. I know my colleague Commissioner Dominguez wanted to speak, and Commissioner Bott.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez, for bringing up the reason why we're here and why we're trying to tackle this homeless situation on West Avenue. Like you, I voted no on that item, and that's the main reason why I'm so supportive of this project. And for the record, I wanted to share that.
Commissioner Bott.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Fernandez, I've been thinking about bringing up the same issue because it's really, it really sticks in my craw that we're here having this very major debate, in large part because of this action. For the record, I also vigorously voted against disenfranchising 20,000 residents. I have no issue with debating the merits of being part of the Homeless Trust 1% tax. There's another community just north of us that does not pay that tax, and nobody has ever bused people to them. They still have an amiable, collegial relationship. But not only did we take away the right of voters who had already cast their ballots, there was an escalation of the way things were communicated that did not help the situation at all at the county commission meetings. And so now we no longer just have a difference of opinion on how to handle What we do with our city's homeless population, by the way, we spend close to $10 million providing services and access to services and care, continuum of care, resources. We have folks in our police department who are primarily dedicated to homeless outreach. Dr. Alba Tare and her team do an incredible job. So it's not that we're not trying to address in a compassionate and productive way how to help these folks who need help and how to rein in those folks who are bad actors and causing, creating crimes and or perpetuating crimes. But the way to do that is to have that conversation before people start voting. The time to have that conversation is not when early voting had started and ballots had been cast. And so wherever people net out on whether or not they want to be a part of the Homeless Trust is a very valid conversation to be had, but never to take away a person's right to vote on something once you have already voted. And so that is why, in large measure, we are here having this very robust debate about whether or not this project should move forward. And I don't want that to be lost in translation. We could have done things very differently and had a perfectly good outcome in lots of different ways that did not include disenfranchising people who had already cast their ballots.
Anybody else want to speak? I'm a yes.
Thank you. Motion passes all three. R5D, R5A, R7A.
Looking forward to a beautiful product and a nice park or whatever we decide there. Okay, please, if you can clear the room. I know there's a lot of people, but we have the Deauville item next. So if you can clear the room as quickly as possible.
Hey, you want a little,
Yeah, Ralph, you want to call it?
R5C. It's an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending the City of Miami Beach Year 2040 Comprehensive Plan pursuant to the Small Scale Procedures in Objective RLU 1.1, Establishment of Future Land Use Categories Policy 1.1.7, High Density Multifamily Residential RM3, creating the North Beach Oceanfront Overlay, Land Use Overlay Category, providing authority to establish floor area incentives for partial reconstruction of contributing buildings and designating the North Beach Oceanfront Overlay District on the 2040 Future Land Use Map, providing for inclusion in the comprehensive plan, transmittal, repealer, severability, and effective date. This is second reading, public hearing. It is item R5C. R5D.
I'm asking everyone, please clear the room. We have to finish this meeting and we have another major item to call.
R5D is an ordinance of the Mayor and City Commission of the City of Miami Beach, Florida, amending the Resiliency Code of the City of Miami Beach by amending Chapter 7, Zoning Districts and Regulations, Article 2, District Regulations, Section 7.2.6, RM3 Residential Multifamily High Intensity, Subsection 7.2.6.3, Development Regulations to reference modified development regulations for the North Beach Oceanfront Overlay, further amending Chapter 7, Zoning Districts and Regulations, Article 3, Overlay Districts by creating Section 7.1.3.11 entitled North Beach Oceanfront Overlay District to establish development regulations that incentivize developments, including the partial reconstruction of contributing buildings on certain existing oceanfront lots within the North Beach Resort Local Historic District, and providing for codification, repealer, severability, and an effective date. This is a second reading public hearing. The item requires a 6/7 vote. That was item R5D. We also have two additional resolutions. R7B, which is a public hearing, North Beach Oceanside District Deauville Development Agreement, and R7C, approve amendment number 1 to the Deauville Settlement Agreement.
Eric, take it away.
So again, I'm going to hand it over to David Martinez, Assistant City Manager, and Thomas Mooney, our Planning Director.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. So this is now the second reading of this development agreement, as well as the legislation that was read by the clerk. There has been several changes to the legislation as well as the developers agreement since the last time that you all voted on this. And I'm gonna go through a quick list of the things that have changed so that we can bring this up to speed. So previously, if you all recall, there was the height proposed for the 2 residential towers on the project was 380 feet. That height has been lowered to 300 feet. In addition to that, we're only looking at 2 towers instead of 3. There will be a southern tower that will be all residential, and then there will be a northern tower that will be part of the reconstructed pedestal that'll include the hotel units as well as residential. The floor plates on the 2 towers that are now remaining are being increased in size from the previously approved 10,000 square foot plates to 25,000 square foot plates. There was a previous requirement now to modify the previous requirement to substantially reconstruct the former Deauville by allowing for the reinterpretation of the original tower portion of the hotel and redistribute the allowable FAR within the 2 new towers that have been relocated that I just mentioned. The applicant has also limited the overall density of the project to not exceed 200 residential units and 140 hotel keys. A minimum of 90 to 125,000 square feet of hotel floor area will be provided. A maximum of 625,000 to 660 square feet of residential tower floor area will be provided. A no gambling provision for the subject site is also included. A guarantee that no future projects on the property will be developed pursuant to the Live Local Act is also included. A portion of the property shall be developed as a temporary public open space, and that is associated also and picked up on the companion amendment number 1 to the settlement agreement. The developer has also agreed to construct a minimum size 4,000 square foot exhibition and meeting space that's being called the Center for Miami Modern Architecture and Resilience that will be open to the public. And in addition to that, specific areas of the property that will be privately owned and publicly maintained open spaces. These include corridor along Collins Avenue, the 2 beach access corridors on the north and south, one of them being elevated on the north, as well as the lobby of the reconstructed Deauville Hotel will be open to the public. To recap on the public benefits, which have been slightly modified.
David, if you don't mind, when they changed the residential units, how many residential units was it before, and the FAR for that residential units, and what did it change after the first reading?
As I mentioned, the current residential units is 200. It changed from 140 prior.
And was there a change in FAR?
There is no change in FAR. The
No, for
FAR
residential.
continues to be.
Pardon my question. Was there a change in the dedicated FAR toward residential versus hotel?
You want to?
Yeah. According to the plans that were submitted by the developer in April, the total residential area proposed was 517,000 square feet. Currently, as Eric said, 640, upwards of 660 are proposed. And for the hotel area in April, 230,000 square feet of hotel was proposed. Now 107,000 square feet of hotel is proposed.
And that's because of the reduction in height?
Correct, and the developer's decision to change the mix of units to have less hotel units and more residential units.
Okay, please carry on. Please carry on.
Okay. So just, I want to summarize for the good of the group, the different public benefits or other considerations that are being proffered. We have, number 1, the partial reconstruction of the historical Deauville Hotel pedestal. We have what I previously mentioned, the privately owned public spaces. Again, the reconstructed Deauville lobby, the 2 beach access corridors, as well as Collins Avenue sidewalk promenade. We have a new, the addition of the Center for the Miami Architecture and Resilience at 4,000 square feet. We have a temporary public park and beach access, which is proffered ahead of the construction of the site. 150 public parking spaces of the garage property, which will be initially proffered from the very beginning, and at some point will convert to either a long-term lease or a condominium space. We had the originally proffered $7.5 million towards the Byron Carlisle, or if the city so chooses for another. There will be some funds that we will be able to use for the Biscayne Beach Elementary sewer situation. There's also $400,000 for the North Beach infrastructure analysis that the commission has asked for. There's, as we all know, the resolution of the existing fines, which I think I'm told, and Eric, I don't know if you heard further that the money has been wired.
So we requested that it was to be wired. I don't know if it's hit the bank account yet.
Okay, so there should be in the hopefully soon in the bank account. The Triangle Pocket Park at $250,000, and two new additions, which is our $350,000 towards the Parkview Island entrance project, as well as $650,000 towards the Allison Park dog park improvements. That constitutes in general the public benefits and other considerations.
Correct me if I'm wrong, was the settlement agreement part of a public benefit? Not the settlement agreement,
No,
the fines paid.
They're not. That's why I said other considerations as well as some public benefits. So I just want to capture all the different elements that are in play.
Got it.
And turn it all to you if you have any specific questions.
Commissioner Bott?
Are we able, I don't know if it would be you or the applicant, to see the revised, is there a presentation the applicant is going to be making to see the revised, because what we're voting on now has changed quite dramatically from what we had preliminarily voted on.
So while they're starting that, just if I could through the mayor, I just got notice that we got confirmation that the money has been received in our bank account.
Good afternoon, or almost good evening, Commissioners, Mayor. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm honored to be here with you to really try to be the most important catalyst to North Beach. The DeVille property means so much to the history of Miami Beach. It's one of 5 very important hotels that were built in the 50s that really represent why historic preservation is so important in our community. And I think this is an interesting roadmap in order to be able to do a partial reconstruction of the tower, a reinterpreted tower, mid-century modern architecture, as well as a replication of the entire pedestal, which is over 150,000 square feet of FAR. As many of you know, the road today has been not easy. Every step of the way I've been motivated to my commitment to North Beach and to the city of Miami Beach and its residents. North Beach has been overlooked for quite some time. And what is being presented to here today is, after countless conversations with residents, community groups, and with each of you. After receiving the latest round of feedback from the commission, we've made final adjustments. It's the same FAR. We reduced the height to 300, moved 3 buildings to 2 buildings that we'll show you shortly. And we increased our public benefit package. The historic replication of this building comes at a significant cost, hard costs, soft costs, financing costs. And so it is important that we realize, and I think we did realize after our last meeting, to make this open to the public and really make it a public asset for the community and revitalize the neighborhood. We're really proud of a lot of the community outreach. We've had tons of meetings over the last year and a half with not only unanimous planning board meetings, but also out in the community with residents. And I'd love to just walk you through a little bit of the presentation. I have Eduardo from Foster and Partners that's here today, and he'll be able to do a quick presentation on the design, and we'll try to make it as efficient as possible because we know that Commissioner Suarez has to go over.
How much time do you need for the prompt?
I would say no more than 10 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Eduardo Ruiz from Fostering Partners. Delighted to be here today. This is a sequence that shows the evolution of the project from September 2024, from a height of 437 feet, 2 buildings down to 400. In conversations with the community, with the city, it was made evident that we needed to go down in height, and so we did. And in the last iteration, the height of the towers and the width of the towers led to a significantly different arrangement with only 2 buildings, as David was saying a moment ago, and a much lower height of 300 feet. Now, with regard to the podium reconstruction, the spirit is the same. It's a very similar strategy, identical really. It's all based on the idea of interacting with the city, with this historic piece of architecture which is in everyone's memory, and to improve it in terms of its urban benefits. The iconic arrival with the arches is part of it, and so we think that we can really bring it back to its golden age in a new way. This doesn't only apply to the facade, but also to the internal spaces, the lobby in particular, which has an extremely important public dimension, and how it flows into these other spaces, the Richelieu, the Napoleon Club, and the Casanova, which are part of an integrated spatial experience, which is very characteristic of the architecture of the period. And so this flowing space, which was always flowing and was part of its spatial DNA, so to speak, will now be framed in greenery. A greenery that, as we explored in previous presentations, would come from a transformation of the pool deck into a green court, and with all the benefits from an ecological point of view, from a resiliency point of view. On top of that, it would be open to a wider audience and really become a beating heart for the neighborhood and the community. So that is the podium. The other essential element of the composition of the historic building was the Deauville Tower. And it had a footprint which was more or less T-shaped, and it had an awkward relationship with the water, with the ocean. As we can see in this photo, there was absolutely no space between the water and the site boundary and the building itself, as many of the buildings did back in those days. So we've already taken steps to improve our relationship with the neighbor to the north, increasing the setback to 30 feet, and we had already cut the building 50 feet away from the beach path and the beach in a more respectful relationship, and we're further increasing that setback to 83 feet, making it be in line with our neighbor to the north in a much more respectful relationship. Now, when it comes to the language of the building, we really want to go back to the DNA of what made the Deauville. These are the 2 essential features that we can identify that could be the basis for a successful reinterpretation of the building, are the horizontal eyebrows, the brise-soleil elements that marked its horizontal language, and which were so characteristic of the modern movement and the Miami modern specifically, but also the vertical marker that located the entry point of the building, the arches at its base in this very sort of memorable arrangement. And we would build on the features that are characteristic of the Miami modern, which has more of a flair and playfulness than other expressions of the modern movement. So this is just an initial approach to it, what we think we can do, and we believe that successfully it captures the essence of what the building used to be, but in a way that is clearly contemporary, and not trying to mimic the historic building, only draw the essential features from it and build on them. The new building on site would be to the south. It would sit, as the 2 previous towers did, on top of the ballroom, moving the cores away from the most significant historical rooms, the lobby in particular, and in this case pushing the building more than 200 feet away from the site boundary, the east site boundary, the beach, and leaving a gap of about 110 feet with the north building. As a result, the building leaves generous gaps between the neighbors to the north, between themselves and to the south. And as this elevation shows, this west elevation shows, they're well below the height of the taller neighbors to the north and to the south. And now back to David to talk about the public benefits.
So, public benefits summary, I think, are really important. Not only is the legacy of the Deauville being restored important, but we're also heard about a need for public parking. And so we're going to be dedicating 150 public parking spaces to the city and to the community. We're also going to be doing a series that David Martinez mentioned of privately owned public spaces within the historic pedestal, where I think it's the only development that will be providing 2 publicly accessible beach walks at a considerable cost, as well as the capital for the affordable housing and workforce housing at Byron Carlisle or other workforce housing and affordable housing needs the city has. So this just goes through each element: the Biscayne Beach Elementary sanitary sewer issue, the Parkview entrance improvements, which Parkview's somewhat always needs to be thought of and really think through in order to improve the aesthetics and really the temporary public park here. Here we have the job creation that the hotel will be generating, and partially the residential component, and also the incremental tax revenue that the CRA will be getting for this project. This project is a low density project. The 200 residential units, if you guys would like, and I would proffer probably 180 residential units is all we would need. And we're going to build 140 hotel keys. Today, you could build over 571 residential units. Today, you could build approximately 900 hotel keys. Reduced density, I think we're anywhere between probably 20 to 30% of that density. We have a significant amount of traffic reduction, not only from what the Deauville was, but also with this redevelopment. So we're catalyzing the project with the hotel. We're catalyzing the project with this additional revenue, but with much lower impact on traffic, much more impact on public infrastructure, and an enhanced stormwater management system. We're going to use some of the tools that we used over at Canopy Park from a resiliency standpoint in order to basically be able to have stormwater retention for the neighborhood within the property and under the court and public park. We also have a temporary public open space. At the last meeting, it was mentioned that not only to comply with the vacant lot standards, but also to develop a temporary space for the public to immediately be able to use the property and also be able to enjoy the green space. So that's something that we've designed and we'll be working through and part of our development agreement. Here you have the historic replicated Deauville, which approximately around $215 million of cost to replicate the 150,000 square feet. So we have the porte cochere, the decks, the pecan alleys, the lobbies, etc. And so here you have.
David.
Yes, sir.
How much was it to rebuild the Deauville?
The pedestal only is around $215 million.
250?
215, sorry, 215.
Okay.
Yeah, it's around give or take around 160 million for the hard costs. Soft costs are going to be around approximately 30 million, and the financing costs around 20 something. And we brought and we could hand it out. We brought an estimate from general contractor Moss Construction so that you could have those details.
I'm sorry, but since you're on this line, does that account for there's be some cost regardless whether you're replicating or not, correct?
So the 150,000 square feet of that area today could be used for residential, for instance. You could build, like in Bath Club, you could build a bunch of villas on the homes. Those first 35 feet, so of the 300 feet that we're using, the first 35 feet are being dedicated, and I'll go back to the plan, solely to these uses. That is not the, call it, most commercially viable plan, because this is 150,000 square feet that could probably, you could create a lobby in these types of conditions within 20,000 square feet, right? And then you could commercialize and provide residential product in order to sell within that pedestal. You could sell that project. So under a non-Deauville project, this area would be residential, would be really able to generate a lot more revenues than a lot of the grand areas that are expensive to build, but also important for the reconstruction of the Deauville and the site.
Proceed.
Thank you. So here we have the partial reconstruction. This is kind of referencing the 5 hotels that kind of the era of the Deauville in 1957, obviously the Melvin Grossman. This is showing the north elevated beach walk, which also has access to the resiliency and mid-century modern center that we're building.
And that's public?
Yes, that would be public. And then also we have our south beach walk.
What would exactly be public?
The Center for Resiliency and Miami Modern Architecture will be open to the public
right away?
The beach walk is public. The lobby is also going to be public from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. The lobby will have access to the center and will also be accessible to the public. This is the North Beach Walk that has access because the Center for Architecture and Resiliency, that center has an access not only from the lobby, but also has an access from the beach walk.
But it's a Center for Miami Modern.
Yeah, sorry, Center for Miami Modern Architecture, got it. And then here's the South Beach Walk, which is an important beach walk. So both sides of the property are basically going to be accessible to the public. It's around half an acre of land that's going to be dedicated to the public that otherwise would not be.
David, if
Yeah.
I could just ask, the original Deauville had how many access points for the public to get to the beach?
None.
And so we're going from 0 to 2?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And also temporarily, we're going to be providing access prior to start of construction as well immediately. This garage, not only are we dedicating on a long-term basis this 150 parking spaces, we're also going to enhance the aesthetics of this facade of this garage. That is not, I'm not including that in any public cost, but this is something that I think the community deserves as that garage has not been in a very good condition, and Foster and Partners worked on the garage facade, and we'll be going forward with this during our design approval process. But overall, this garage, we're very close to being able to open it, and immediately will be open to the public. Plus, we're also going to be dedicating it on a long-term basis to the community. So there's around, give or take, 400 to 500 spaces. 150 of those spaces will be dedicated to the public. This is the proximity that shows the garage and the Deauville here. This shows the access points and also the public space of the lobby that will be accessible north and south, as well as a promenade that we're creating along Collins Avenue that I think Foster and Partners really working with Schulman really created a very smart move to increase for pedestrian safety that area. This shows the two areas of the Miami Modern Center for Architecture as well as Resiliency, and it shows where it is inside the pedestal of the building. And also here are some of the financial contributions for Allison Park as well as Park View, as well as the Byron Carlisle Cultural Center and affordable housing. There's $7.5 million being contributed for this project to make it as a catalyst to try to make this happen. Here's a conceptual scheme that has been developed for this cultural center and workforce housing, and we think this is Byron Carlisle. Arts and culture are very important to North Beach, and I think we need to be investing in that as well as affordable housing. We have this infrastructure study and improvements. Not only are we enhancing the stormwater system for the entire area with our project, but we're also going to be doing an analysis of the entire North Beach infrastructure and working with the city in order to see where we could identify more priority projects. This is the public park that we're going to be building, as well as a community garden that we're going to be creating here. And at a minimum, we're going to be allocating $250,000, but this is a very important corner. It's basically along Harding Avenue, and it's really a visible corner, and so we really wanted to be an amenity to the community. Here's the, obviously because of our lower density, we're 20 to 30% of our allowable density. We have a reduced water consumption, reduced sanitary sewer demand, reduced solid waste generation, etc. This shows you the balance of density from what is currently allowed to what we're building here. And also this study was done by Kimley Horn from a traffic planning perspective that shows the reduction in traffic. And then we're also doing some traffic improvements where we're...
David, it would be the reduction in traffic from what would be as of right?
So as of right, you could build 571 residential units, and you could build around over 900.
If you were to build 570 residential units, what would be the average unit size?
So it depends, Commissioner, but anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 square feet, give or take. So that would be the kind of the size.
Okay.
Yeah.
As of right?
Yes, and I don't.
You don't mind coming up here for a second? Because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Because I think when I did the math, it turns out to be 650 square feet on average if you were to build all 500 and something residential units. So Tom, maybe you can just clarify the record.
In the RM3 district, the minimum unit size is 550 square feet. Now, if you agree by covenant not to have any short-term rentals, you're not required to have an average unit size. But if you don't do that, then your average unit size has to be 800 square feet. So if you round that off, the minimum unit size ends up being closer to 800 square feet based upon a normal 85% efficiency rating.
Okay. So, and the only reason I bring that up is because, there's a lot of discussions up here for attainable housing. And so if you were to max out all 500 and change units, we would by definition have naturally occurring attainable housing. So it's a give or take, right? I mean, I understand that there's more density and then you'll have more strain on the infrastructure, but I think it's important to realize that, do we want to have 3,000 square foot units or do we want to have attainable housing? So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're being intellectually honest with each other.
Yeah, 100%.
And if I could just interject there, because it's not specific to this, right? When it's one of my foremost goals to bring attainable housing to our city, but we have to be pragmatic about where to do so. Doing so on the ocean front or on the bay front likely isn't the place to try and achieve that goal. What's going to make something actually naturally more affordable is the placement within our city. So that's why my goal is to really, when we look to thread the needle for attainable housing, is to find infill areas that can also help revitalize our commercial corridors, such as Lincoln Road, Washington Avenue, kill multiple birds with one stone, where we're bringing residential eyes to those areas, revitalizing those areas, and the cost of land is much less, so those units actually will be attainable. Because even if you have one bedrooms on the water, the price demanded there is not going to be affordable or attainable. But if you have something on Lincoln Road or Washington Avenue, your cost for land and land development and the finishes you're going to have will naturally help those be more attainable. So it's not specific to this item, but when I think about my goal for how I'd like to achieve that attainable housing for our city, that's kind of where I start out.
And the only reason I bring that up is because on that traffic study where it shows a reduction in, I think 76% reduction, I don't think that's necessarily true, right? Because as Commissioner Magazine said, having beachfront property if you were to max out all 570 residential units, you really wouldn't do that because they'd be around 800 square feet at the most, and you probably wouldn't build 570 units on the water, or excuse me, on the ocean, and therefore to say that it's going to reduce traffic by 76%, I think that's just intellectually dishonest. And I'm just trying to make that distinction here.
And I think it's a great point.
Your mic's off.
Sorry, hello?
Your mic's off.
Yeah.
Just push the button.
Okay, thank you. very good point, very good discussion. I think a healthy discussion. Do agree that the price points of this property, because of cost of construction, land, and everything else, and being on the beach, I think is going to command a higher price that's going to be out of that attainable. But on the flip side, I think we're all thankful that we're not planning a property, because this project not only can generate 500,000 square feet, Commissioner, but it could also generate 1 million square feet of FAR as well under that state statute. So for me, I think it's a very good point, but I think another developer, not me, another developer could build 1 million square feet here of FAR.
Yeah, again, through the mayor, I don't see a live local application being put on oceanfront. And by the way, yeah, if they did, we would have affordable housing.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
But I just want to make sure that we're being intellectually honest when you say it's going to reduce traffic. Because reduce it from what?
Right. So I mean, prior purchasers wanted to do a mega hotel here. The fact that you could have 800, 900 hotel keys here, that is also a possibility.
But how come the Morellos haven't done that?
They chose me to be the developer, Commissioner, and I felt that the most important thing for us, my view is quality of life is priceless. Quality of life of this neighborhood, revitalizing North Beach is important, and also paying a tribute and history to restore that DeVille history and that story, I think is such an important part of the Miami Beach DNA. And so I think they chose me rather than someone else, and that's kind of what happened there.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Bott.
Yes, Commissioner.
So remind me, how much money is going into the CRA over the life of the CRA?
Over 300 million, around 378 million, give or take.
And so by law, a minimum of 10% of CRA funds have to be used for affordable housing, right?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
So it is a minimum of 10%, but there's nothing stopping us from using more of that CRA money to be used for affordable housing, and not necessarily acquiring land and building new, but rehabilitating, per the earlier conversation that we had on the prior item. So I think it's, as my colleague Commissioner Magazine said, it's probably unrealistic to hope to have attainable housing for the missing middle or affordable workforce housing on oceanfront property for multiple reasons. And arguably, it's not necessarily the best, highest use of that land when you can generate benefits for a community as a result of those higher price points. As long as that part of those benefits going back to the community are geared towards specifically creating more affordable housing, missing middle housing stock. And so I want a crystal clear to everybody who is listening to this, that supporting this, it does so many things for the North Beach community, but it also guarantees that money will be available starting soon to start improving our housing stock, of affordable housing stock, both between the Byron Carlisle, which is already in development, and the opportunity to acquire, update, or build new if the opportunity presents within the North Beach community where it is so desperately needed.
Did you have the rest of the presentation of you, David?
I had just a few more slides that we could go through. I think, obviously the infrastructure of North Beach, when we all drive through North Beach, we see broken sidewalks, we see, lights that aren't turned on. We see a lot of things, flooding. We see a lot of things that I think need improvement. I think the CRA funds are important. I think not only is the CRA getting money, the school board is getting a significant amount of money. I think I have a projection here that'll show you fairly quickly. Let me just get to that. This talks about the engineering and systems for the stormwater retention that we're implementing. I think it's around 12 gravity wells that we're going to have. And then this kind of talks about the gallons per minute capacity that we're going to be generating. Sorry, it's 15 drainage wells. And then also the economic impact. When we go into that, here it's $368 million that's been projected to go into the CRA. And then we have an immense amount of additional tax revenues going to the school board from this project. We have an intense amount of revenues post-CRA going to the county. And then also to the city. So even post the CRA, the city's going to continue getting the incremental tax revenues. So this kind of gives you a quick summary. of the public benefits package. And we're really honored to be here, guys, to be part of this and working with the community. This has been a 1.5 years of a lot of work and a lot of engagement, and we appreciate your time, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Commissioner Suarez.
David, while you're up there, why do you need this? Why do you need this extra FAR and height for this particular project?
So in order to replicate the Deauville, basically we're getting 35 feet plus the kind of the roof of the Deauville, but 35 feet of that height is being used. So today, let's say 230 could be built here and you have 300 feet. So 35 feet of that is being dedicated to that. The second issue is this additional, this 250,000 square feet of FAR in the historic tower. That area is perpendicular to the property as well. So traditionally, if you were just developing this property, it would be parallel. Like traditionally, it would be two parallel buildings facing the ocean. Because we're replicating the building, we have a perpendicular building to the ocean. And so with those considerations and the cost of building, so not only do we have a land cost, but we also have the replication costs. And so when you look at that, it's basically the only way to make it economically feasible in order to replicate and restore the Deauville.
And if Tom, can you come back up, please? Just have a few questions. So you mentioned you're replicating the Deauville, right? Tom, in your professional opinion and experience, how much of the Deauville is being replicated?
Based upon the drawings that we've looked at recently, and this is based upon the new iteration, a fairly substantial amount of the pedestal is being reconstructed. I'd say probably 85 to 90%. However, I'd say less than 25% of the original tower. And the reason for that is because of the need to create two towers, and the developer has moved in the direction of more of a reinterpretation of the tower as opposed to the replication of the tower.
So in totality, what percentage would you say is the replica?
When you take into consideration the new design of the tower, it's probably 40% in total. It's under 50%.
40%. Okay, so I think I've made this I've made this publicly clear. And you told me, David, that it's going to cost you around $215 million to rebuild Deauville, and the pedestal and the elements of the Deauville, right?
Yes, so the pedestals, as Tom said, is 85 to 90% that way. Reason being, we wanted to be sensitive to our neighbors, and so to the north and south of the property, we set back the building. So basically, we're replicating the entire pedestal, the first 35 feet, or really what you see from the street, and then the tower is being reinterpreted. The old Deauville didn't have a lot of the considerations to make a viable hotel, like ceiling heights and certain things, but the architecture will be mid-century modern, and it will have a lot of the architectural features, signage, the elevator tower, as well as the siding on the site of the old Deauville.
So, one of the things that we brought up at the last meeting was an economic analysis, right, of how much value, if we approve this, are we gifting to the project, right? And Tom, if you can come back up. Yeah, so, we all passed the motion to get an economic analysis of this project, and because, look, I certainly don't want to be in the business of selling zoning, but at least I want to make sure that we're getting a fair deal. And Tom, if you can just reiterate the profit that would be made. I understand it's been changed. I know that the height went from 380 to 300, but the FAR, the total FAR has not changed. So Tom, if you could just read it into the record, generally where we're at. And now that with the new change, specifically, now that there's going to be more dedicated FAR to residential, does that change the economic analysis of the benefits that we're gifting to the developer?
Our economic consultant did not do a reanalysis based upon the changes because of the fact that the changes came about so quickly. Our consultant didn't have a chance to redo the economic analysis. However, since the FAR is remaining the same and the height is only coming down 80 feet, we believe that it would be prudent to still consider the economic analysis that was submitted for the May meeting.
And how much was that?
So in the analysis, and Andy, correct anything that I'm saying that might be wrong. The analysis estimates that for 210,000 sellable square foot above a height of 200 feet, that the price would be $1,300 per square foot, resulting in a total cost exclusive of the amount spent on the site acquisition in the amount of $273,000. And in summary, our economic analyst estimates that the value of the condominium square footage above 200 feet to the developer would be $568,452,000 minus the cost of the proffers that were discussed above in terms of his public benefits.
So $568 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I just, it's a little distressing, right? Because we've had, and David, this is no fault to you, right? I mean, you kind of, you're the face of it now, and the Morellos are not here, right? But they have been probably the most egregious landowners in Miami Beach. They let an iconic hotel rot and be demolished.
The last item was competitive too.
Well, I would say this is exponentially worse. They've let parts of the building fall onto the public right away. They've sued the city with egregious lawsuits. They're not good actors in the city of Miami Beach, and they're going to be what percentage owners in this deal?
75%.
So they're going to be the majority.
No, I'm the manager, I'm the decision maker, and I'm the developer.
Right. So, but they're still going to be.
I'm going to guarantee all loans as well, so I'll have the decision making.
And it took them until today to wire funds for fines that were owed to us.
That's not correct, sir. I think the monies were wired according to the last first development agreement.
I'm sorry, in the last couple months.
In the last couple months.
Yes, in the last couple months. But
yeah.
It has been outstanding for quite some time,
yeah.
Right? And the fact that it is allowed to get to $6 million in fines, and they only decided to pay it up until now because they want something, I think is a big problem. I think by doing this, we're going to set a very dangerous precedent. We're giving away over $500 million in value to you and the Morellos in profit, extra above and beyond what you would normally make. And again, you're shaking your head, but that's just what the economic analysis says to us. And we're giving it to the most egregiously bad actors in Miami Beach for something of a 40% replica of a hotel. Now, to me, that's a bad deal. Okay? Because what we're going to be telling every other property owner in North Beach, or pretty much anywhere in Miami Beach, is if you demolish your property, you wait 5-10 years, you sit on it, you wait for a favorable commission, you break down a neighborhood, you'll eventually get what you want. And I've got a problem with that. I got a serious big problem with rewarding bad behavior. And this is exactly what this is doing. Because we're gonna set a precedent, and you only need one. You only need one to really set the stage. I have the Sussmans calling me, and they're like, well, you know, you're gonna, if this goes through, we're gonna want something too. And any property, Tom, you can come back up. Because of the new state preemption, if you are east of the coastal construction line, you can demolish your property as a right. You don't need an approval, correct?
That's correct. Under the Resiliency and Unsafe Structures Act, unless you're in an exempt area, and the exempt area is basically the Art Deco district south of 23rd Street, yes, if you're eastward of the coastal construction line or any part of your building, then you're preempted from
So anyone can just demolish their building if they wanted to, right? And so, look, David, I mean, that's the reality, because if this goes through, guaranteed, this is going to happen again and again and again. And sure, it could be up to us to make that, to hold the line on it, but there's going to be a precedent. I think even your lobbyist right now, Michael Larkin, has stated on the record when he was representing the Stephen Ross. He wasn't representing Stephen Ross, I'm sorry. He was representing the Sussmans, that they would seek relief for the same sort of benefits that we're doing. Because in reality, what we're doing is we're spot zoning for this particular site. And I just don't think it's a good deal for us to set a bad precedent, reward bad actors for a replica of a hotel that's 40%. I would rather, and David Martinez, if you can come up for a second. Mr. Martinez, how much in capital improvement projects are pending for specifically North Beach in a 5-year plan and I think a 30-year plan?
For a 5-year plan, you're looking at somewhere north of 100 million. I don't remember the exact amount, 130 or something in that ballpark.
Okay. About over 100 million?
For the 5-year capital plan.
Okay.
The 30-year, I don't have the exact number, but that's this.
And that's for capital improvements such as what?
The capital improvements for the long term, you're looking at water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure above ground, redoing roads, lighting, that sort of thing, as well as some of the other capital projects that we have in the books right now. A lot of capital renewal and replacement for our facilities, things of that nature.
Thank you. So, David, to me, if you're going to spend $215 million on a 40% replica, why not forget about the podium, forget about the hotel, and give the city of Miami Beach that $215 million specifically for North Beach, where everyone in North Beach and Miami Beach gets the benefit from, where we would not have to raise our taxes to pay for these capital improvement projects, which it's going to be very hard to fund. And that's something that really benefits. And you know what? You can keep the amount of FAR you have, get what you want, and you don't have to be burdened by building a replica, a 40% replica, which, look,
You'll support that?
in my opinion, if he's willing to give us $215 million for North Beach capital improvement projects, yeah, I'd be okay with that. And so
Commissioner, I just want to clarify something. The $215 million is only for the historic pedestal. The historic pedestal is being replicated 90%, not 40%. So I just wanted to clarify that real quick. So, because that's the area that is where all the amazing things that happen.
So as an elected official, when I go out and I knock on doors, one of the biggest things that people complain about, everyone knows, is overdevelopment. Okay? But they also complain about potholes, and they also complain about, I'm glad Omar Jimenez is here, is water quality. Because we don't have proper injection wells from previous commissions past who probably did not put in proper pump stations. And we have a kayak launch in North Beach that you can't use because if you go in there, you're gonna die. Okay? Not die, but you could die. To me, fixing those problems, those quality of life problems, is a real public benefit. And that's something that everyone in North Beach can feel and touch and benefit from. When people drive down Collins Avenue, they don't say, wow, I really missed Deauville. They say, I don't want to get a bacteria infection from Parkview Island. They want to see their roads corrected. They want to.
Let me show you. There's 300.
Yeah, but when you have like marijuana places that want to come up there, or tattoo parlors, that we have to legislate not to come in there because there's an absence. I'm not trying to get to the merits, but there's other side effects.
But where I'm getting at
If I
is.
could just ask for a point of clarification from Tom. The FAR is predicated on replication, right? It's not, so could you explain that so that we are all clear on this? Because I believe what you just offered was to keep the FAR without any replication, but this entire project is based on bonus FAR, based on some partial or complete replication, and depending on what was offered, that's how the FAR is being calibrated.
As drafted, the land development regulations are being amended to provide for bonus FAR. So it's not just a straight up FAR increase, but it's bonus FAR up to a maximum of 5.5. And one of the bonuses, as well as the other bonuses for the additional FAR, are predicated upon the substantial reconstruction of the Deauville as determined by the Historic Preservation Board, as represented by the developer in the development agreement. That would include probably close to a 90% replication of the pedestal, but on the tower portion, that's going to be more of a reinterpretation in the current iteration.
Thank you, Tom. So, but again, the economic analysis shows that it's not costing them $215 million to rebuild this.
I just want to acknowledge, because I'm getting a lot of questions from my colleagues and also I'm getting texts from residents. You know, we put in time limitations for presentations. There's no time limitation for asking questions. So some people want me to shut this down, and I'm not going to, because as long as we are asking questions and keeping it going, there's nothing, and I personally, I think the questions are actually legitimate. So
what happens though, because we have a time limit, so what happens if we are not able to vote because one of our colleagues has to leave?
We'll vote when he leaves.
So,
or if he leaves, we'll continue.
Yeah, and look, and where I'm coming out with this, and look, I'm simply saying, David, if you really wanted to benefit the community, building a private hotel is not a public benefit. It's just not. Okay, because it's one thing maybe if you were 100% owner. The fact that the Morellos are going to keep 75% of the share and profit off of their their intended neglect to get to this exact point where we are today it's really just a bad precedent. And so I think a much better deal for our city would be, instead of rebuilding a 40% replica that's gone, and that would which by the way would cascade to other buildings in North Beach to demolish and then rebuild as a replica of 40% and to get extra FAR and height. You know, we have real problems in North Beach where one project like this could wipe all that out.
I think this will be a catalyst. Urban planning wise, Deauville needs a hotel. It doesn't have the tourism that South Beach and Mid Beach has, and it needs a signature hotel.
How many hotel units are there?
There's 150 hotel keys, but there's restaurants.
David, with all due respect,
meeting spaces.
David, with all due respect, I don't think a 150 hotel unit building is going to really be the catalyst. What is going to be the catalyst is going to be the town center that's getting built in North Beach, and it's on its way. It's not that it's excuse me, Commissioner Dominguez. It's not that it's going to, the one project is going to change everything. There's I think 13 developments that are going up in North Beach as we speak. So
How many cranes do you see, Commissioner? There's not many. Not many. North Beach, a lot of things get planned and they don't get built. And what we've done.
how many permits do we have ready for North Beach?
There's a number of projects that in the town center area that have received DRB approval. Only one's been built, which is 72 Park. The other ones are in various stages of the permitting process.
Okay.
So I don't believe that we have a single crane up in our entire city, except for the convention center hotel on government-owned land.
And look,
Commissioner-
and I want to follow. I'm just going to finish up with this. Look, I just want what I think is the best deal. Okay, I understand. You know, you and the Morellos are going to do really well with this project because it certainly doesn't seem like there's going to be any other opposition to this. But I think, you know, the precedent that this is going to set is going to be profound. And if my colleagues are seriously interested in going through with this, at least get the best deal, because of the public benefits that I've seen, $7.5 million for the Byron Carlisle, a little triangle park, which is really nothing, it's just a swale. And beach access is nice. I thank you. It's great too. Yeah, great. But the fact that you're making almost $600 million on this, and it's somehow justified that a private hotel is a public benefit, just doesn't sit right with me. So,
Commissioner Magazine.
Couple things. While I've never personally met them, through all their actions, I would have to agree that the ownership group being cited in reference seem as if they are amongst some of the worst stakeholders in our city. They're going to benefit and profit from any future development here, and they let be destroyed what is one of our few iconic structures in our entire city. However, I cannot allow us to cut off our nose to spite our face. I went to the original planning board meeting just as an interested resident. I didn't even know it was on the agenda that day, several years ago, when the first Deauville proposal was out there. And I see the same people, our same community members, Brett, Tom, number of people, still sitting here with a hole in the ground. A hole in the ground. And I know, me and my family know what it's like to live across the street from one. It happened in 5 Park, and it was awful. And people go, oh my gosh, that building over there at 5 Park, it's not that bad. We have a beautiful park. Okay? But it's activated. And we feel like a community now. I lived there for almost 10 years, and I felt like I lived in a building across from a dirt hole in the ground. Okay? I originally got involved in politics because my wife at the time was pregnant with our daughter, and Zika was ground zero because we lived across from a dirt hole. So I actually don't disagree with a lot of what Commissioner Suarez is saying. If I were king and I got to decide what the public benefits were, I don't know if I'd say a hotel is the best use for my personal preference. But when I vote, I have to vote for the people that I represent. I was never at the Deauville. I don't have pictures there. Despite my quickly graying hair, it's mostly because of all of you, okay? And I wasn't there when the Beatles played. So this doesn't hold some sentiment to me, but I know it does for the people that I was voted to represent. I never walked into that hotel. I'm going to get no personal nostalgia from this being recreated. And you could ask the city manager, when we first started talking, I go, what is this? I don't think this is all that special. But I've heard from hundreds of people in our community that is a public benefit to them. It's not to me. I've never been inside the old Deauville. It wasn't important to me. I'm not going to get this feeling of nostalgia being there from when I was a kid. but I know a lot of our residents are, a lot of the people that I represent. If I got to make a unilateral decision, I would rather a boatload of money instead of recreating this. I would. But the people that I represent, seemingly they feel different. And we could have a debate, what percentage of those people are, but for the ones that I've heard over not only the months that this project has been in the works, but over the years where that original proposal got voted down. And the number one thing that I heard for the feedback is Steve Ross came in and was going to build this beautiful shiny tower with Frank Gehry, but he gave a screw you to the people that wanted to have a voice in what that final product would be. And while it seems like pretty bad stakeholders are going to benefit here, it doesn't outweigh that the community that I am elected to represent and serve is going to benefit from a project like this moving forward. That's my first and foremost concern, is moving something forward. And then I think, what does the neighborhood truly want? And over the months and over the years, I've placed a renewed value and emphasis on things that are nostalgic, that do honor our history and historic preservation, where we have boards set up just to preserve that, because that does create an identity for Miami Beach. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Commissioner Bott and Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you.
I'd like to move the item.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioner Fernandez.
So I have a question for the administration. How much taxable value do we anticipate is going to be generated from this project?
Tom, do you have that?
The developer put together, I think it was Washington Economic Associates, and if you, are you putting that up? Okay. There was an analysis done by the developer on that.
And this is just the, during this CRA term, but the school board will also be getting funds during the CRA term as well.
So let's see. By 2040, we'll be getting 17 million. By 2050, 26 million. All right, and so in essence, that is our responsibility, fixing drains, fixing outfalls, fixing water quality. That's why people pay property taxes. But then is our decision how we allocate those property taxes. And that's a big distinction here. The site has been sitting empty. It's draining the economy of the area. We're not getting today the property taxes that we'll be getting in 2024 or next year. Just what does it go up to next year?
Not sure. I'll get back to you on that. I don't know exactly the number, but I'll get back to you on that.
Let's see, you're being given some numbers.
So taxable value in 2024 was 72 million, and then it jumps when we complete to 725 million.
Okay, all right. And that's what, 6 years from now?
That's 6 years from now.
6 years from
Yeah.
now. All right, so in 6 years, we're gonna go from 72 million in taxable value to over $700 million in taxable value. And those taxes, who's responsible for the allocation of those taxes? It's all of us. And we're the ones that decide with those tax dollars, are we going to prioritize what we're saying? Are we going to prioritize fixing the road, fixing the sidewalks, fixing the aging infrastructure, and everything else that has to be fixed in North Beach? That's our responsibility. This is why people pay property taxes. And that's just property taxes in addition to all the other public benefits that are being offered. I was at the original DeVille. I used to go to the gym that was at the original DeVille. I went to events at not Joe. I did go to, actually at Eula used to have a beautiful fashion show that many of our commissioners actually used to attend, as well as well, many years ago to raise funds. And there was a gym there that was active, and when that was there and the hotel was active, the businesses in that corridor were flourishing. Came the shutdown of the hotel, that shell got filled with drug dealers and homeless individuals. And then, of course, we all know what happened. But ultimately, today, who's suffering? What's suffering? The businesses are suffering, and the residents are suffering. We can say that we don't want to, we can say we want to punish the Meruelos. That's equivalent to saying you want to punish the residents of North Beach. You want to put the residents of North Beach through more years of a suffering economy, of more years of vagrancy, of more years of homeless individuals squatting in the garage, of more years of lack of progress. It's our responsibility to handle our tax dollars properly. For crying out loud, if we wouldn't have allocated nearly $30 million of deficit in the last agenda going into next fiscal year, maybe we would have money to fix some of this infrastructure. But this commission chooses to, put money into other stuff. Well, here, new tax revenue going from 72 million to 700 million in taxable value by 2030. Those are operational dollars that we can use to fix everything that is being proposed, in addition to all the other public benefits, in addition to getting 150 parking spaces. How much are each one of those parking spaces worth?
I believe the last time that we built a parking garage, which is a number of years ago, it was more than $50,000 a parking space.
How much?
More than $50,000 a parking space.
Okay, and if we needed to build today 150 parking spaces in North Beach, Mr. Manager, do we have the land to build it?
I mean, I'm hoping that we're gonna build the one on 72nd Street.
Besides that one, I mean, but that's further north. That is further north.
That is further north, but
Yeah.
we do not have, in this specific location, we do not have the land to be able to
And
build.
do we have a parking shortage in North Beach, even taking into account 72nd Street garage?
Yes.
All right, and so, and it's in fact so much so that we're making our residents now get decals register with the city and parking zones, which was in part incredibly unpopular, but we did it because we recognize there's a lack of parking. Well, here we're getting, without having to build it, we are getting 150 parking spaces that we would have to begin by finding the land to acquire, to develop it. And I get that not everyone values the replication aspect of this, but replication for demolition by neglect has been a part of the policies that this city has prioritized for a long time. Mr. Mooney. How long has our city had the code that states that demolition by neglect leads to replication?
That's been in the code since probably the early 2000s.
So probably over 20 years. That has been the position of this city, that historic buildings that are demolished by neglect need to be replicated.
The presumption.
And was that preempted by the state of Florida?
Yes.
That was
Certain properties, yes.
That was preempted by the state of Florida. And now, besides this development agreement, would we be able to achieve a replication, especially of the ground level activation, the ground level porte-cochere, the facades that are iconic, the lines even on the tower? And I know that people say, well, it's only 40%. Well, that is unique Miami modern architecture that would be replaced with something else if it were not for this agreement. Was that preempted by the state of Florida?
Yes, we would not have any way to require a replication other than a development agreement such as this.
And so to me, that's important because when we say we want to preserve our architectural design, this is part of us preserving our architectural design. When we have opportunities to partner with developers that are not going to go into a new style of architecture that is not consistent with the character and the history of this city, when we're not willing to work with them, then we can't say we're fighting for the preservation of our character. This is yes. Are the Morellos involved? Yes. But there's another partner that is involved, that is bringing back to life the history that this community fought to save, that this community lost, but that we can still bring back as part of the architectural history of this city. And to say that we want to punish the Morellos, we might as well say we want to punish every single resident and every single business in North Beach, because that is exactly what we would be doing. We would be saying, you need to live in a depressed economy, you need to live with crime, you need to live with a lack of commercial activity or the lack of increase in property values, because we know that in any other circumstance, we want to push the Morellos to sell and not be involved anymore. Well, guess what? They're still going to make a windfall, even if they sell and they're no longer involved. And what are we going to do? We're just going to kick the can down the road. We're going to lose taxable dollars that we could be reinvesting into the infrastructure in North Beach, and we will prolong the agony that the North Beach residents have been forced to live with for all too long.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to correct the record. I never said punish the Morellos. Okay, we're clear. I don't think we should be rewarding the Morellos. That's two very distinct statements. I don't want to punish anyone. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. My point is that we shouldn't reward bad behavior, and we're at this point today because of bad behavior. The neighborhood is breaking and isn't polite because of the actions of the Morellos. So I just want to make sure we're clear on that, respectfully, Commissioner Fernandez.
So 4 years ago, when we were dealing with the Doval, which was still standing but closed, and we had legislation that was dormant, I brought legislation to kickstart that litigation, which ultimately is what happened. And immediately we started issuing the fines and legislation. But because I had brought that, I got invited to a lot of community meetings relating to the Doval to speak, to participate, and there were a lot of them. There's a lot of interest in the Doval. And I had been to the Doval. I went to some weddings there when it was, yeah, that's true. That is true. Not because of you, though. But what I heard is similar to what you mentioned, Commissioner Magazine. There is significant interest in the replication, and ultimately I heard that from a lot of our residents. So I listened to that. Ultimately, we have to decide what a private actor is willing to do. We don't get to create the project. We get to sort of call balls and strikes. Yes, we can try to negotiate, which we do. We've changed it. But ultimately, we have to make a decision whether this particular, because we could ultimately vote no, and maybe David Martin or someone else comes back with a different iteration, or maybe it just sits the way it is for decades. Who knows? But ultimately, we have to make the decision what's best. I think the community has said, by and large, there are people who feel very strongly against, and I've gotten some of those calls, and we see some people here. But by and large, it seems that the North Beach community does want something that'll kickstart the neighborhood, be something that'll be proud, and will also, I think it helps with security, and also ultimately the types of businesses you're going to get that are going to be able to sort of feed off of the what's going to be a high-end hotel and residential units.
There's a motion and a second.
There's a motion and a second.
It is a public hearing.
Let's call it.
Okay, so if anyone wishes to speak, please stand in line. I'm going to call first Yvonne Andries. Please state your name, and we're gonna again do 1 minute.
Good evening. My name's Yvonne Andros. I'm here on behalf of the Sterling Condominium Association, once again, actually. And it's a pleasure to be speaking with you this evening, again, on behalf and representing the interests of the Sterling Condominium Association, Inc., that's located 6767 Collins Avenue. I'm here today at the request of the association's board of directors to express the association's continued strong support for the proposed redevelopment of the site and to urge you all to approve this project. While the association was supportive of Mr. Martin's initial concept, what you're being asked to consider and approve today shows that Mr. Martin has remained steadfast in his commitment to delivering a project the residents of North Beach can be proud of, and it still addresses your concerns. The project has many benefits to the residents of North Beach, such as the public access to multiple portions of the Deauville property, a parking garage with the 150 dedicated parking spaces, millions in capital contributions for the Art and Cultural Center, the enhancement of the Triangle Pocket Park, and much more. If you continue to put roadblocks in front of development, it's not the developer who loses, it is the North Beach community.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, please.
My name is Adam German. I'm a resident of Miami Beach, and I work with the Sherry Frontenac Hotel, which is to the south of this project. I want to report to the commission that the Deauville project, this amendment has the Deauville project setback at 30 feet, whereas the statutory requirement is 50 feet. It's relevant because the Sherry Frontenac intends to go and build a project on the north segment of their lot, and that 30-foot setback is problematic in terms of that development, in terms of scooching it and giving it room to go and do something that's lovely. So I'd like to go and have that be addressed in your decision tree and this approval process.
Thank you. Our next virtual caller is Anthony. Anthony, state your name, address, and you have 1 minute.
My name is Anthony Ciso. I live at the Sterling, 6767 Collins Avenue, where I serve on the board of directors. I strongly support this project, as well as so do the other board members and many of our neighbors. You've already heard the benefits. Please, let this happen for North Beach. We're waiting. And we're watching. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Brad Benessi, 730 Ocean Terrace, and in August will be 26-year resident, so we love Miami Beach. We're in full support of this. My husband and I, JR, are in full support of this project. I know you're wondering what my sticker says. It says, support history, support the Deauville. So we're going to support the history by rebuilding the Deauville. And you know what? We have 0% of the Deauville right now. I'll take 40%. So we are in total support of this. I've heard a lot of, talk about, height and size, it's, the center page 276 and it's all, 300 is an amazing size. So we are in total support of this, and I appreciate everybody coming out and supporting this, because I've never heard such support for this project. And hopefully, and as far as the assessments from Sherry Frontenac, they haven't finished their project, so don't take any calls from them until they finish that project. So a lot of people repeat themselves, so I'm just repeating myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next virtual caller is Sharon. Sharon, state your full name, address, and you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Sharon Weiss. I live at 233 81st Street. While I'm not necessarily opposed to this project, I would like to remind the commission that the last time Tara and David Martin developed up here, they promised to retain elements of the Deezerland Hotel and keep it a hotel, which would be beneficial to the economy. Not only did they completely demolish the Deezerland, which was a Morris Lapidus historic building, there's no hotel, it's condos. That project was the first time that Tara had an oceanfront development, and I would say that it didn't go that great for their neighbors, the Champlain Tower. We gave them a street for a pittance of money in return. Yes, the park is nice, but we also lost a part of a street. The work that they did to pave that street for beach access is not being maintained. It's in terrible condition. So I would just say that please be very careful.
Thank you so much. I apologize, but you're out of time. Go ahead, please.
So Ms. Manning is gonna yield me her time, and my parents will also yield me their time. I'm not gonna need more than 2.5 minutes. So, good evening, City Manager, Mayor, Commissioners, and my fellow Miami Beach residents. I stand before you today not just as a concerned resident, but as someone who has fought tirelessly for our neighborhoods, our environment, and our future over the past 5 years. What's happening with the Deauville redevelopment is deeply troubling. 2 300-foot towers in the heart of North Beach with minimal community benefits in return when compared to the $100 million provided at the 500 Alton project. That's not revitalization, it's exploitation. We're being asked to give away our skyline, our sunlight, and our souls without a real seat at the table. And once again, we're watching the city bend backwards for powerful interests and away from the people who live here. For years, I've worked on the front lines in this community, cleaning polluted shorelines, restoring neglected spaces, fighting for environmental justice, and building coalitions from the ground up. I've served on city boards, served 20 years as operator of a small family business in South Beach and Mid Beach, and led clean water campaigns and brought neighbors together to create real lasting change, not for headlines, but because I care.
Thank you so much, sir.
You yielded the time for the other lady, and why not for me?
Well, you're already over by 30 seconds, so I'm just trying to get the people going.
It wasn't even 1 minute.
Give him a little more time. Go ahead.
From South Beach to Mid Beach, North Beach, people are tired of being ignored, tired of decisions being made behind closed doors, tired of watching our city become unrecognizable. That's why today, just 1 hour ago, I officially filed my candidacy for Miami Beach City Commission Group 1. I'm running because I love this city too much to stay silent. I'm running because over the past 5 years, I've personally suffered repeated skin infections and scars that will remain on my body forever from the high bacterial levels and the polluted waters that surround my home that I haven't been able to enjoy once fully my homestead property since I bought it 8 years ago. I'm running because North Beach deserves better, and so does the rest of Miami Beach. I'm running to bring real transparency, real accountability, real community leadership back to City Hall. This is not just a campaign, it's a movement of a change that begins when ordinary people with big dreams decide they've had enough of waiting and empty promises. This is about grassroots for the people. Let this be a turning point, the Deauville, for North Beach, and for every one of us who refuses to be forgotten. Together we're stronger, and I believe we can build a more equitable, sustainable, truly resilient and prosperous future for all of Miami Beach, not just for pockets of special interest. Thank you.
Our next virtual caller has a screen name of iPad. Please state your name.
Commissioner Bott wants to make a comment before we.
Sorry, I don't know if how this works exactly, but Mr. Martin, if you could come back to the podium, please, because one of the prior callers made some pretty outrageous statements. I don't know if they're outrageous. I don't mean to editorialize, but could you address the comments made about the 87 Park development? I was not involved in paying attention to that.
So the Renzo Piano was the architecture. We did a development agreement with the city. We went through several public hearings, public processes, and the city commission at that time voted to move forward with the project that included green space improvements and infrastructure, as well as beach walks as well.
Okay, and so the reason why you weren't able to keep the original historic property, because I think that was part of the plan, could you just address that a little bit?
At the time, the building was in pretty bad shape. It wasn't historically preserved, so basically the exterior architecture wasn't, but there was an interior. Morris had done an interior job in the project, but when we bought it, that interior was all stripped out. It really didn't exist what the historic interiors were, because that's where Lapidus worked. But basically, when we looked at the site and we looked at the architecture, we basically, instead of building 2 buildings on that site, we chose to eventually build 1 building on that site. And we wanted to bring an amazing architect that had never done any work in the community. And so we brought in Renzo Piano in the community, and the city voted for it, and we had a development agreement and went through several public hearings.
So the initial thought of preserving the hotel, once you got more deeply involved, was not viable. What's the likelihood that could happen in this
It's not gonna happen, because our development agreement requires that we build this hotel. So we do not get anything, no development, like we don't get any FAR, we're not able to get a building permit unless we get a development agreement, unless we comply with the development agreement, which requires to replicate the hotel.
So while the previous caller had some concerns with that project, they are completely irrelevant to this project?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they are apples and snakes, they're not even apples and oranges,
That's
they're
correct.
apples and snakes.
Correct. Contractually, in the development agreement, we are required and compelled to replicate the hotel.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
So let's go back. The next caller has a screen name of iPad. Please identify yourself. You have 1 minute. Please unmute yourself. Then let's go to the next virtual caller, Renee.
Greetings, Mayor and City Council. My name is Davide from 6608 Collins Avenue, Rene de Paris Jewelry Store. For 65 years, we've been in the same location with the same owner, and I and the 6 businesses in front of the new DeVille project greatly anticipate and support the project. We remember the days of the DeVille and our bustling neighborhood and the employees who were a large part of the neighborhood business. So I hear there's many different special interests that don't want this project to go forward. But these same forces do not help any of the businesses that have been suffering since the DeVille has not been there. So we support this project, and thank you, Mayor and City Council. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening. My name is Sam Gasola, and I live at 74 Harding Avenue. The reason why I'm supporting this project is because I support North Beach, I support local businesses, and I just, I've been in this area for so many years, and I mean, I wouldn't knowingly support a project that would harm an area that I've been living so many years and I love dearly, because I've lived in this area with my parents, and the DeVille specifically, the idea that they're replicating it to some point, I'm in favor of it because it reminds me of when I lived there with my parents, especially my mom. It was one of the last places I lived with her before I lost her, before she passed away. So for me, the DeVille is very, very nostalgic and important for me. So I support it completely.
Thank you so much.
100%. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts, you're up next. Go ahead, please. State your name, address. You have 1 minute.
Lee Roberts, Shop of Fifth. I just want to bring out some economic points that make absolute no sense to me. So if the assessed values go from 70 million to 750 million, how is it possible that the analysis of the value to David Martin and his partner adds $500 million in net value? It's impossible, right? So, and then I think Eric brought out that FAR valuation is at 20 to 30% of whatever that number is, and it certainly can't be 500 million if the whole property is worth 750. After construction costs, after property costs, it's just ludicrous. And you have to take 20% of that number, whatever that is. David's a good guy. I had problems with him at the marina back 5 years ago. I learned that he's wiser, he's smarter, he works harder.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, thank you. Patricia Agnella, 2555 Collins Avenue. I agree that we should not be rewarding bad behavior. I do think that was very calculated, the way that was handled. But I do understand the frustrations of the businesses and the residents of North Beach. I have 2 questions for Mr. Martin, if I may. One is the fines that the Morellos amassed. Was interest paid on those fines since they ignored them for all those years? And if not, why not? And number 2, did you say earlier that you were going to write into the agreement that there would be no gaming Okay, just wanted to confirm that.
So, yes, confirm no gaming, and secondly, the interest was paid on those fines as well.
Okay, what rate?
There's a
Market rate, or you don't take into account all the?
I think the law, and maybe the city attorney can help me with that, but there's a law that there's a certain prescribed rate for fines. We pay that prescribed.
Did that accrue on a quarterly basis or biannual?
Are you talking basis points, or what are you talking here? No, David, can you just clarify about, because this is a concern that many people had. It was fear mongering. It was never a possibility, but we do have in the DA, the development agreement, that there will be no gaming. And if please clarify that runs in perpetuity with the land. So if you decide to sell it tomorrow, whoever buys it nobody will ever be allowed to put a casino on that piece of property.
Not only is it a covenant of the property, but I also have a development agreement with the city that I can never own a casino in Miami-Dade County.
Because of your involvement with the Convention Center Hotel.
Correct.
So regardless of what happens with the DeVille site, you, David Martin, cannot be involved in any project in the city of Miami Beach that could be a casino.
Correct.
And regardless of if you're not associated with the Deauville site, nobody can ever put a
Nobody
casino in
can.
there.
There's a covenant on the property.
Okay, so I want everybody who's listening who thought that was a possibility, because it was a fear-mongered story that was put out there. It is not possible. Full stop.
And those covenants, when we put these covenants and run with the land, Nick, we're passing legislation to increase the threshold. If anyone ever thinks of changing these covenants in the future, we're increasing the threshold for them. Because I know we're doing it for short-term rental restrictions. I just want to make sure that out of an abundance of caution, maybe include casinos if that was not included.
We can look at that ordinance, and you could also ask the developer to agree to that as part of this covenant.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Our next virtual speaker is Peter V. Please state your name, and you have 1 minute.
Yeah, Peter Vanderlee, owner of the Deauville at 6365 Collins Avenue in Miami Beach voter. So after hearing the revised proposal, I believe it is improved. In my view, though, the height at 300 feet for the towers is still not ideal, and it should be the absolute maximum that should be considered. Now, the 300 feet is certainly low from the prior proposal. It's still on par with what was proposed in the referendum, where it got rejected by the voters while the voters were still able to do so. The issue of 300 feet is that it will set a precedent for the area, among other things, but that one in particular stands out. The area will see a lot of redevelopment in the future, and having 300 feet as a mark is not a positive for the long-term outlook for North Miami Beach if allowed to proceed. Now, I do say that this new proposal is a good step in the right direction, and I want to commend and thank everyone for listening to the concerns that were expressed.
Can I ask a question from Tom Mooney? Sorry. You're getting our steps in tonight. Got you coming back and forth left and right.
And he does button up very nicely every single time he comes up with this podium. A true
It's
gentleman.
most appreciated. The resident raises another concern that we have heard. Can you talk about the height implications? Clearly, this is not the tallest building in the neighborhood. So can you allay some of the concerns that some residents might have to that point, please?
Yeah, the highest height in that area, at least in terms of being able to use a higher height for, say, something like the Live Local Act, is 235 feet. That's already been established in the Ocean Terrace area. The height that is proposed here is through a bonus. So it's not an as-of-right height. It's only height that can be achieved up to 300 feet if they meet certain bonus thresholds. And so this is not an overall height increase for the entire area. It's specific to this property, and it's based solely upon bonuses.
And the Akoya, which is a few blocks down, is significantly higher.
Correct. The Carillon, the Akoya, those are significantly higher because they were approved prior to the down zoning in 1998.
Okay, so this is not going to set a precedent for anybody.
No.
So that height at the Akoya can't be used for live local.
No, because it's no longer permitted. The only thing that can be used for live local is what is currently zoned and permitted. That's
And this height that is being established as part of the DeVille cannot be used for live local either, because it's not what is being placed in the code. It is being earned through public benefits.
That's correct. It's what we characterize as bonus height, not as a right height.
And the Live Local Act does not allow bonus height to be used.
Correct. It has an exception for bonus height.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Tom.
All right, my name's Dennis Davenport. I live at Florida Towers, 6422. I drive by your property, the Javille property every day, riding my bike. And we have a prairie, but we have no house there. It looks awful. We've been waiting and hoping that this development would make the community come alive. The investment should make the small businesses be revitalized, along with the Ocean Park development down the road. We think that it would be safe. It would make the area really say something about the future of Miami Beach. Right now, nobody's lining up. I built a hotel, Hawthorne Suites in Southfield, Michigan, and I know what it takes to be successful. Good luck, gentlemen, but it doesn't mean because they build that it's going to be successful. But right now, we don't have anything, and we need something immediately.
Thank you, sir. Our next virtual caller is Ricardo Topchi.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, commissioners and Mayor Minor. Just real quick, I want to sadly say that, it's unfortunate timing for the developer, because we may have lost a lot of people that were there in presence and Zoom that were going to be supporting. But having said that, I'm here to support the project. This is Rick Topchi from the Sterling. I'm on the board of directors, 6767 Collins Avenue. Commissioner Suarez, I appreciate that you clarify you're not rewarding the Morellos, but by the same token, that could be interpreted also as punishing the community who has seen the erosion and deterioration, increased crime, loss of value in property value, so forth and so forth. So, not rewarding one is really punishing the other. Just, I appreciate Mayor Stenger for pointing that out as well.
Thank you so much, sir. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Lyle Stern, 690 Lincoln Road. Just for consistency, I'd like to ask Tom to come. So I appreciate Commissioner Suarez and I think the very intelligent discussion that he brought here, but we're at a different place in time right now. And I simply want to restate what Commissioner Magazine and Commissioner Fernandez has said. In addition to that, we have a world-class developer coming to our city who's done spectacular projects and is ready to activate this project, and as a resident of the city who drives through North Beach all the time, this is the key to the missing link. Not only what we're going to get at the former Deauville site, but also what we're going to get at the parking garage structure, which is super important in terms of creating the pedestrian activity, the cultural activity, and the sense of community in our neighborhood. So I thank you. I urge support for the project, and I thank David for being willing to go through the process, just like Michael Stern did to get here. I thank you all for your time, so thank you.
Thank you. Our next virtual speaker is David Sharps. Please unmute yourself. Let's go to the next caller, Dominique. Please state your full name. Dominique, please unmute yourself.
Summoning Elizabeth Latone, summoning Elizabeth.
Let's go to the next. Go ahead, please.
Commissioners.
Elizabeth Latone to aisle 1, Elizabeth Latone.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Yes, my name is Dominique. I live at the Sterling. I'm very excited about the Deauville project. I believe it will bring many positive changes to our North Beach. especially since the developer David Martin has a great track record in Miami Beach. I'm confident that the project will be beneficial for our community. It's crucial that we create a vibrant and dynamic environment for the future of North Beach. North Beach deserves to be a nice, safe, walkable place, and it's essential for the small businesses on Collis Avenue that have struggled in recent years, and will attract new businesses. We need to give a new life to this neighborhood. Everything is about timing. Now is the time to make it happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Next, please.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Dominique Behar. I live at 6767 Collins Avenue, the Sterling. As a young adult living in North Beach area, I want to express my support for this project. Right now, walking past this empty area, it can often feel unsafe. It's dark and sometimes there's people hanging out that make it uncomfortable, especially as a young woman walking alone at night. It doesn't feel like the Miami Beach we all know and love. Instead, it feels like a forgotten part of the city. That space should be full of life, music, and community. North Beach has so much potential, and we need projects like this to bring energy, safety, and opportunity back into the neighborhood. This development could help attract a lot more young people, families, and businesses, and it would create a place where we actually want to spend time and feel safe doing so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Our next virtual caller is Stephanie. Stephanie, go ahead, please. Stephanie, please unmute yourself. Let's go to the next caller then. Richard, please go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Richard Zaki. I'm a resident of the Sterling Condominium at 6767 Collins Avenue in Miami Beach and a direct neighbor to the future Deauville project. I'd like to voice my strong support. This revised Deauville project is a low-density, brilliant solution for our area. North Beach desperately needs this kind of thoughtful development. It's a chance to truly revitalize this area. I urge you to recognize the immense benefit laid out by Mr. Martin. So once again, I strongly support the Deauville project, and I hope, Commissioners, you will too. Thank you so much and have a great evening.
Thank you. Go ahead, please. Sir?
Tom Richardson, 6450 Collins Avenue. I want to bring up 2 points. One is that people are comparing this sometimes to the Ross project, which was voted down. That was simply a development project. This gives North Beach back its cultural identity. South Beach has Ocean Drive, Mid Beach has the iconic Fontainebleau and the Eden Rock, North Beach had the Porte Cochere and the Duvel. We're going to get that back. It's going to be part of our cultural identity. That's the thing that makes Miami Beach special. So I really applaud us. To say to take out the pedestal would be ruining the whole project. That's what the value is in this project to me. The second thing is, I couldn't agree more with Commissioner Fernandez and Magazine and Tanya Bott and I think Kristen, that all want to see this project go forward. But it's been another year delay because we've come back with a better project. And a year delay really kills North Beach all the time. I don't want to see this continue to be delayed and denied and kicked down the road. I would like to see this go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next caller is Larry
If
Schaefer.
I may, Mr. Mayor. Tom? I know how important this was to the Alton Park Neighborhood Association. I went to your neighborhood association meeting. And I told you guys what I was going to ask of Mr. Martin. And I made you guys a commitment that we would work with Mr. Martin. I know you guys were upset that, you know, I changed my position to say I was going to support the height that he was asking for, and I promised that we would work to lower the height, and we were able to lower the height and still maintain the replication. So I just want to thank you guys for understanding, because it was not an easy meeting. I know you guys were passionate, and you guys were very understanding of why we had to move forward in the way that we did.
Alex, I really appreciate that you did what you said you were going to do, which you came back with something that was more palatable to a lot of people in the city. And we were mad at you because we thought it would be delayed. but you kept your word, and I appreciate that.
And we appreciate you.
Our next caller is Larry Schaefer. Please go ahead.
Larry Schaefer, 233 81st Street. I bet you're going to vote 6-1 on this one as well, but this deal is worse than the one you voted 6-1 on before. If you're going to move forward,
My hands are here. Mr. Schaefer, are you there? Mr. Schaefer, I'm going to go to the next caller. If you want to call again, just please do so. Let's go to our iPad. Caller with the screen name of iPad, please unmute yourself.
Yes, Alton Fiala, Sterling, Unit 1903. We've been very supportive. David has now moved the towers down by 100 feet. That casts less shadow. He's asked to move the hotel back another 33 feet. The view sheds will be better. The replication project for $215 million is, I can't imagine that'll work. I think it's a lost leader for him in order to get his condominium units, which puts him in a different category. By way of your economic study, there's a lot of flaws in it. In fact, somebody forgot to mention the 586, which is construction costs are too high, too low, and the sale prices are $4,000 a square feet to make that number. And then you have to deduct. In your study, it says all these other benefits. Somebody forgot to mention that today. Please, 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 get this thing approved.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, please.
Charles Ortiz, 6725 Harding Avenue. Unlike last time that I was here, I am not necessarily against the project anymore. I think conversation has gone in a good direction. However, I still think we're selling ourselves short, and very much so. I read over the Miami Economic Associates analysis, and I did some of my own numbers. We are still looking at a little bit under $500 billion in incentives for the FAR. However, the public benefits themselves haven't really changed that much other than what was discussed here last time. What has changed though, and what we have here on page 11, is that the city is now responsible for capital improvements on the garage property after 5 years. That was not there on the first reading. Now it is. Mr. Martin also mentioned that the pocket park was a minimum of $250,000, but on the agreement it's actually capped at $250,000. So it says hard cost capped, soft and hard capped $250,000. So we have some discrepancies here that we really need to look at so that we get a good deal out of this. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being so involved. Seriously, Charlie.
Our next caller is Lisi Bordelano. Lisi, please unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lizzie Bordenero. I reside at Sterling, and my husband and I are in support of this project. We are still not as thrilled with the height, but it's much better than the previous height. So we just wanted to, show our support to Mr. David Martin. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, please.
Hi. Me? Hi, I'm Susan Cohen. I reside at 6799 Collins. I strongly support this project. As I've mentioned a million times, it's going to bring great vitality to North Beach that we so desperately need, not to mention the benefit to the CRE, which we will not receive until it's up and running. So I implore you to pass this today. And it's my understanding that it then next goes to the planning board where it has to get approved. So again, we're delaying those monies that are going to go into the CRA. So please, if there's anything we can do to fast track this. Ocean Terrace, we know, is taken over 10 years. That's still not being built. So I'd hate to see, time delays deals, and we just need this deal desperately. So let's get it passed, and let's see what we can do in terms of speed, fast tracking this deal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller is
One second.
Commissioner Bob.
Eric, we don't have to go, this does not have to go back to the planning board, correct?
It will have to go to HPB. I don't know.
There's a project to review.
Right.
So, yeah, so once we pass this, we're moving.
Unless. That's correct. Tom is nodding his head, so I'm agreeing with your statement.
Okay.
Our next caller is Stephanie. Stephanie, please unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hammerman. I live at 6799 Collins.
I'm calling to support the Deauville. Our community needs it, and I think it respects the needs of the community. And I'm speaking on behalf of my household and also other people at 6799 Collins who've asked me to please support the creation of the Deauville.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, please.
Ana Maria Faya. I live at 6767 Collins Avenue, and I strongly support the project. We have been right next to the new project, and it's like he said, a hole in the ground, and it's much needed that we will the project will revitalize the neighborhood as well. So I thank you, and I urge you to go ahead and approve it.
Thank you. Our next virtual caller is Guillermo Garcia. Please go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Guillermo Garcia Bueno. I live at Sterling, 6767 Collins Avenue. I have been attending all the hearings regarding the Deauville development. David Martin has accommodated all the requests from the city and from the neighbors to get this project through. But it's a little frustrating that some commissioners are still bringing issues that have been addressed and resolved in the past. The project needs to move forward. I support the project, which is very badly needed.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christina Sosa. I'm a resident at the Carillon at 6799 Collins, and I'm here again to support David Martin and support this development in our community. I've been living in North Beach for over 20 years, and it's time for this project, and this iteration is still great. And with David at the helm, we are going to improve our community. And I just wanted to make a comment that having a new luxury hotel in the community will significantly improve our North Beach area, just like it did for Faena in that whole district. And so a beautiful boutique hotel will add to the value and betterment of our neighborhood. The low density approach is ideal for the community as well. And we want to see this development move forward and take advantage of the CRA. So please, we're here to get this done together. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Schaefer, go ahead, please.
Hello, sorry, I had some technical difficulties. In the DA, are you giving these bad acting billionaires 5 years to get permits? At least negotiate that part. If you really think this is going to revitalize North Beach, then force them to deliver quickly. Completion in 2 years. You could have negotiated for a $100 million community center that we need, a center you owe us. You've defaulted on the delivery of that center, and instead you spend time on deals like this. Wouldn't a $100 million community center revitalize North Beach? You're going to for nostalgia at a bag of scraps. Small dollar amounts provided for different projects. The Deauville had 500 rooms, now we get 150 in 5 years. Come on. The FDRs in the town center will revitalize North Beach first. We should own the hotel itself and its ongoing revenue in exchange for the entitlements, not just the nostalgia. Everyone, including me, wants something to happen, but many want a better deal. Thank you.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Janet Silverman, 6899 Collins Avenue. I live at the Carillon. I'm on the board of the North Tower of the Carillon. We at the Carillon, to a person that I've spoken to recently, are wholeheartedly in favor of this project. Our board is 100% in favor of this project. We need it in the area. I mean, I can't say more than has already been said. There's not much more to say. Everybody's talked about all of the benefits, but I want to reiterate what my neighbor Susan said, that we just need to get this done as quickly as possible. I mean, and I don't really agree with Larry Schaefer, but I do agree that 5 years seems like a long time, and we need to just try to move it along as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Janet. And actually, so do I. I'd like to talk about that when we wrap up.
Next, please.
Agreed.
Hi guys, Miranda, 6725 Harding Avenue. I'm gonna be honest, I think I live in a different part of North Beach than the rest of you. A lot of what you're describing I don't agree with. I have seen a great hand of development on our streets. We have a new Haagen-Dazs, we have a new juice place, we have a marijuana dispensary. We have a lot of things popping up in North Beach, and I just don't agree with the sentiment that's being shared here today, to be honest. I don't have problems on our streets. I walk to the Walgreens across the street from the Duville site regularly, daily, multiple times a week. I come home from club space at many different hours of the night and eat pizza at Venezia with not a concern or a second thought. Do I have concerns about Harding and its lack of road, that the dividing paint on the street? Absolutely. It's a 2-lane, one-way road that people have accidents on and drive the wrong way up. But all these other things I don't understand. However,
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please. Got it.
Okay. Guillermo Baena, 1919 Bay Drive, Miami Beach voter. For me, it's so easy to be in support of the project. Sometimes I am impressed, with all respect, how lack of vision some-sighted people have, being blind, and I can say that in addition to bringing back to life this amazing Duville, 40% of the charming and the magic of this hotel, iconic, is a magnet to the city, is what I want to see for my city, is what I want to see for going back, and I think that will bring a lot. And as an economist, actually, I can talk about more than the economic impact that is going to bring, not only direct, so even indirect. Not only the taxes, all the tourists, all the businesses, everything that is going to bring to the community, I think that is awesome. For me, it's hard to think about a no for this project, so 100% support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess that everyone knows me. After 60 years here in Miami Beach, 40 years from the Miami Vice, and all the things that I have gone through in this town, I will keep supporting this project, even with the 300 feet less. It will be a beautiful building. It will be, again, maybe a replica, but it will be the iconic Duville coming back alive. Remember, politicians, commissioners, even myself, we comes and go. But this building and this money will stay forever here. Thank you.
Commissioners, good evening. Kevin Kruger, Miami Beach resident, 8 years now, commercial real estate agent, likewise, and serve a lot of the Miami Beach community. And I want to lend a little support to the redevelopment there. North Beach seems to get left behind. South Beach is the sexy part, known worldwide. But growing up Gen X, what I'm impressed is Dave Martin and his team can, if there's a problem, he can solve it. A1A can have a nice flow from Miami Beach or South Beach all the way to Palm Beach and really make this the world-class destination. And North Beach deserve this. I've seen the presentation twice, both with your Terra group, and I think your partner's 13th floor. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so I've seen the presentation. The architecture is great. The city's architecture is historically celebrated, and there's no reason why we can't lead into the next century with a project like this.
Okay, thank you for everyone who spoke. I did promise Commissioner Magazine and Commissioner Rosa Gonzalez two things. One, we're going to discuss cutting down this permitting time. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Magazine. I will also say I had set a 7 o'clock. I said 6:30 for Commissioner Suarez with a flight, but we have Shabbat coming up too, so we're gonna have to keep moving. Commissioner Magazine.
The primary reason I want to support this project is to see this move forward for the community. So again, and this is why community involvement engagement is so great, because that was just something that, a detail I picked up on the fly. Why does it have to take 5 years? I know you have to have some safeguards, but just to get the permits, like I said, the number one reason I want to be supportive here is to get this moving for the community. So how can we do that as quickly as possible?
Okay.
Commissioner Rose Gonzalez.
Thank you all for staying for so long. We are now 5 hours into this hearing. Thank goodness you scheduled the hearing for Friday because this is what we would have spent our entire monthly commission meeting on. So I'm glad that we did it today. You know, this juxtaposition of old and new, like the most dynamic properties that we have around. When you look at the surf club, it was because they took the old surf club and they replicated it because they really did tear it apart and then built this new surf club, which is like the hottest property. And they did the same thing on 63rd with the bath club. And then when you go to Faena, you know, it's such a wonderful experience. I don't know which one of you mentioned the Faena, but I want that for North Beach too. I want that prosperity. I want that economic engine. I think it's so important. And you know, people, I really wish that Commissioner Suarez was here right now because I wanted to explain to him why the replication. Oh, you are? Why? Yeah. The voice of the 40% replication. Why is that so important? I know that you were born in Sunny Isles, and had we done what we're doing with the Deauville and what's happening with the Bath Club and the Shore Club, had we had Sunny Isles had the foresight to do that, it would have such a personality that right now it simply doesn't have. And I think that is the public benefit. The public benefit, the day that the Deauville was demolished, hundreds of people came to watch the Deauville be demolished. And even though it was like a shadow skeleton of its former self and it was disgusting, people had this emotional connection and people were literally crying. And I remember we fought that Stephen Ross project, and that was a Frank Gehry project. He is a world-renowned architect, and some people were very upset about that. And that, on referendum, it won by just a very little bit that Miami Beach voted it down. But had they agreed to replicate any portion of the Deauville, that project would have passed. And I'm confident that at referendum today, if we presented what we're now presenting at 300 feet with the 40% replication, and I didn't really understand the whole podium concept when you were talking about it, but it really is important, not just the arches in the front, but everybody along the beach walk to be able to see that podium. And that is a public benefit, Commissioner Suarez. If you're listening, it's a public benefit that is so important to Miami Beach's history. It really is. Movies will be filmed at this Deauville. It will have the spirit and essence of the Deauville. And just the fact that we have the name, the Deauville, matters. When Janet Silverman got up and said the Carillon, just evoking these old names, it's our anthropology and who we are. So I'm sure that everybody is probably, one more thing that I want to add is this CRA component. The CRA, and I have not spoken on the Deauville, I've been sitting here silent for hours now. I just want to explain how important this community redevelopment, the CRA, what was it, the third?
338 million.
What?
338 million.
So,
sorry, 368 million.
no, I was just thinking that this community redevelopment agency that we have, we had to go to the county and we had to tell the county any appreciation in taxable value. First and foremost, the county literally had to declare North Beach blighted to get what we're getting right now. Because any appreciation in taxable value within this area called the community redevelopment area, we get to keep the county dollars. The county was very sorry that they granted us the CRA. They even tried to take the CRA away from us, and that CRA is going to generate so much money that is going to keep that entire area within the CRA not just beautified and maintained, but it's going to help with the resiliency, because we do not have the money for these massive capital projects. And that is going to generate hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you know where the other CRA is? The convention center area and South of 5th. Why does South of 5th look so beautiful? Because it had the same type of community redevelopment association. What is it? Sierra Agency. Why can't I remember that? Community redevelopment agency that you're going to get in North Beach. Why is South Point one of the most prosperous areas in Miami Beach? Because of all of those CRA dollars. So what we have in North Beach is very special. And as Ocean Terrace is built and the Deauville is completed and all of those dollars flow into the CRA, it is going to be a wonderful economic engine for an area that right now is dying. It is literally dying, and even the most legacy businesses are going out of business. And okay, should we call the question? And with that, I move the item, but other people want to
Moved in
talk.
second, but Commissioner Magazine.
Can this permit process get down to 4 years?
So real quick, so the completion of the building is what's the 5 years to get a TCO from start of construction to completion, that's the outside date. The standard, the issue with these dates is that in order to get a construction loan, you have to, the lender has to feel that you're gonna be able to complete in time and that you have some contingency. But by no means do we wanna sit and wait and not, you know.
It's cost you money to carry the property.
It costs you money, 100%.
No, but it's 5 years for permanent, which means we're talking 7 years.
Sorry, in section 5, in the city attorney can read it if you want, but in section 5, the developer shall submit legally sufficient project application to the city within 18 months, okay, after the effective date, and it also has a requirement for me to diligently pursue. If you want, I could provide periodic updates to the city, for commission updates every 6 months or what you recommend
Can you
in
do
order
that quicker
to
than
see the
18
progress.
months? Could you say 12 months?
No, I can't, because design and engineering of these projects takes a lot of time. It's a significant amount of time, guys. To get the HPD, you have to go through a rigorous process with the planning department.
Commissioner Bott.
So I have not spoken on this item today, and I'm not going to. I've made my position very clear, my very strong support, and I know we're about to lose the mayor, and we need to take a vote on this. I also encourage as much haste as possible. However, I'd rather take a little bit longer on the upfront to make sure there are no issues with construction. So let's just take the vote, and we can work on these details after the fact. I think we're united in our goal to get this up and running ASAP.
So we have a motion and a second. Oh, Commissioner Magazine.
Yeah, go ahead, call the vote.
Okay. Motion and a second.
Motion by Commissioner Bott, seconded by Commissioner Dominguez. Commissioner Rosen Gonzalez.
Yes.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Bott.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Suarez is absent, but he left a note that he left notification with me that he would have been a no on all these items. Commissioner Dominguez.
Yes.
Commissioner Magazine.
Yes.
Mayor Minor.
Yes.
For the record, this was for items R5C, R5D, R7B, and R7C.
Okay, point of order. What is the vote?
6-0.
6-0. Okay,
Yes.
because, I mean, I just want to make sure because you have to be present in order to
Right.
vote.
So 6-0, but the notation is that when you want to be treated.
Thank you to all my colleagues for being here on a Friday afternoon and spending the last 5 hours together. City staff, God bless.